All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with Coach Traylor. JJ.
Jeff, what were your some of your big takeaways from this past week's big win?
Just what a short field our offense played on all night because our defense created so many turnovers. It was our most complete game, all three phases, but it always helps when you have TFLs, sacks, turnovers, and we weren't as clean offensively as you think we might have been, but because we played on such a short field, it hid some of the mistakes we made on offense.
Greg.
Jeff, when you guys kind of hit a peak like this as a team, what does it take to maintain this and to keep playing at this high level down the stretch of the season?
There's a lot of factors involved there. I mean, it's hard to put your finger on that exactly, Greg, because the turnovers can be misleading, and no different than we talked about that a lot this year. Is somehow they seem to come in spurts, and we hadn't got any all year, and then all of a sudden, just boom, they show up. Was that an anomaly, or is that going to be a trend? And I guess we'll find out Saturday.
Did you see anything, on film with the turnovers that you guys did to try to generate that at a higher level, or was it some mistakes that they made? How did you size that up afterward?
A little bit of both. I mean, I wish it was, that simple. It's just not. But the more third downs you can get them in, the more pressure you can get on. There's just a lot of things there. They were behind on the sticks, and they couldn't execute on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and 2. Was that us? Was that them? Who knows, right? So I wish I had a better answer for you, but I would like to sit here and beat my chest and tell you it's all us. But I've also been a head coach for 18 years, and you better stay humble and better be real at times too.
How did the injury report look for you guys coming away from this game?
A lot of nicks and bruises, but we think we'll all be good for next week. We're going to have to be smart in practice. It's just that time of year. You got to be smart in practice right now. We're just, you've covered us the entire year. To lose so many players for the season, you're on thin ice to begin with as far as your depth. So it's really hard to continue to be very physical in practice when you're an injury away from, having to play more walk-ons.
You mentioned the flu bug a little bit when we were talking after the game. Is that something that's been going around with you guys, or what's the impact of that?
Yeah, the last 2 weeks we've dealt with it tremendously. But we just try not to talk about it too much, but it's factual. So it's just what we've been dealing with. A lot of vitamins around here right now, a lot of hand washing, a lot of, masks, and try to stay away from each other, sleep, and just try to use some common sense and know that one of our big mantras around here is every single team you're playing against has got something they're dealing with too. Some coaches decide to put it all out there and you know about it. And some coaches, try to keep it quiet as much as possible so nobody knows about it. So, but we always know other teams dealing with stuff too. And nobody's feeling sorry for the Roadrunners. I can promise you that.
JJ.
Jeff, what's your evaluation of Kavorian Barnes' play so far in his action?
He keeps getting better. He had the curse that his first 2 touches he hit home runs. So then he tried to hit a home run the rest of the night. He's got to remember, that some of the best runs are getting back to the line of scrimmage, not taking a TFL. And we had some MAs up front on the O-line more than normal. So he had some color in his face pretty quick. And we just got to stick it up in there and try to get 1 or 2. But he continues to grow and getting better each week. And Brennan's a great role model and mentor for him.
Those two have developed into a pretty good 1-2 punch these last few games. Is that how you guys see it when you're setting up the game plan, or it's just basically what the defense is giving you guys?
No, we always want to play 2 backs, and it's just the best way to play. It's a very physical position, and those two complement each other very well. They're both very good humans. They're both raised by really good people. Those are the guys who are a dream. If you had a team full of Kavorian Barnes and Brendan Brady, it'd be hard to lose as a football coach.
What's the status of Traylon Smith? It looked like he was in some kind of cast or boot.
We've been trying to just, bring him along each week and be smart. And I'm just tired of that. So we just put him on the shelf, and we're going to keep him in a boot and see how long we can keep him that way. Before, as long as Kavorian and Brendan are up, we can afford to rest him. I just hope we can keep Kavorian and Brendan up, and when he comes back, we'll have a 3-headed monster instead of a 2-headed monster. Don't sleep on J-Rod now. Don't sleep on J-Rod.
Back to you, Greg.
Jeff, we didn't see Ken Robinson out there this week. I was wondering if you could update us on his status.
Yeah, got hurt in practice. So he'll be a game time decision this week. And luckily, Kelechi got well just in time to replace Ken. And just, it is what it is. It's the musical chairs of the UTSA Roadrunners. And they just keep finding a way. And for them to control their own destiny, they go to Rice, and we control what we do, right? With the injuries we've had this year, it's truly a heck of a story of resiliency, courage, next man up, culture, great players, whatever, depth. There's a lot of angles you can look at it. But it's a real testimony that we're going into game 11, and the Roadrunners control their own destiny. And they're all conference right tackle, their left tackle starter, the next left tackle. And we've lost Vinley again. We've lost T. Haynes, Shad Wisdom, Brandon Matterson, J.T. Clark, Traylon Smith. These jokers control their own destiny. That, to me, is just such a story. And I'm really proud of them. However this thing ends up, these kids have given us all an unbelievable story on the power of belief and a next man up mantra.
Along those lines, Jeff, was this the best game that your offensive line has played? How did you evaluate their performance?
No, they took a step backwards, honestly. We were not as pleased. Our defense was the story by giving us so many great turnovers and short field to play on. Don't get me wrong, we had guys play well up there. Just as a unit, we didn't spot them out as clean as we have. Louisiana Tech did a lot. They did a lot of stuff. So I will cut our guys some slack, but it was not one of our cleaner performances up front.
What did you learn about how the offense looks and what sort of things you might want to emphasize without JT going forward? I know that's a big loss for you guys and had the potential to change some things.
I was really proud of Tyke, how he just stepped out there and made contested catches, run after catch. He had a couple of drops, I understand. That's not like him. He has really good hands. Really proud of his mental preparation, how he's at practice and how he's competing. He had the flu all week, and he really struggled. He had to have an IV before the game. And after about 30 snaps, he was about done because the flu had got him pretty good. But we won't change offensively too much. We feel really good about Tyke and his ability to come in there and play. And Chris Carpenter played well. Isaiah Davis played well. And we've got other players that we'll just put out there and continue to play the way we play. Which is a mix of 11 and 12 personnel. We've been both as long as we've been here. And the only reason we wouldn't be is, to your point, Greg, is injuries, which could, knock you out of some sets. But we're going to try to recruit enough depth. And our roster is not all the way right yet. And you got to remember, my first year, we got here late, and the next year was COVID. So we really have hit on some good kids in all three of those classes, but our roster is still not fixed just quite right yet. And it might not ever be anymore with transfer portal and the way of the new football. But we'd like to always be 11 and 12 personnel. 50-50 would be a stretch, but, for sure 65-35.
We talked about Tyke last week, but now that he's gone through a full game week preparation in this new role, how has he handled, the off the field stuff and the maturity components and the things you've mentioned that held him back previously?
Yeah, knock on wood, but he's been great, and really happy for him. I hope he can keep stacking days on top of days, and we'll just see, right? We'll just see. Right now, he's in a really good spot.
JJ.
Jeff, you were talking about the 11 personnel, and you touched a little bit about the tight ends helping the offensive line of the game. What's your been about evaluation of that tight end group?
Really exceeded our expectations. We knew what Oscar was going to do. Obviously, we recruited Dan, and he has continued to develop. And what a great third down catch by Gavin. Cam Cooper got to play. Houston Thomas got to play in the game. So the whole room was out there on display Saturday. So that was huge for us. And we've got to keep developing and finding those kind of players. I mean, it's instrumental in our offense. I've told y'all a million times before, obviously we lost Barry Lundy Jr. at Illinois, but he was a tight end coach. I was a tight end coach. Justin Burt was a tight end coach. My brother was a tight end coach. Hunter Ritterman coaches tight ends around here. We've got a lot of guys that tight ends are very important to us and what we believe. I was a tight end. So it's the best position to coach. It's the best position to play because you're an O-lineman. You're also a wide receiver. So you're in all the run install. You're in all the pass protection install. You're in all the route install. So you really learn how to coach and play the entire game by being a tight end.
Greg.
Jeff, Frank Harris is about to break his own single-season passing record at UTSA, the mark he set just last year. Is there anything you see that he's doing differently or better to, continue to produce higher numbers?
He's just the perfect example of what you want your entire program to be. First one here, last one to leave, preps, treats every opponent the same, humble but confident. He does all the little things. And I've said it a million times before, this 3-year run we've been on, we need to all enjoy it. And obviously there's been a lot of parts to this. It's not just been Frank, but his leadership and his ability to serve his teammates. He's talented, and that's just Frank. And I know we better never, ever get tired of talking about it because those kind of guys are very special to coach.
What was the conversation like around how long he should play Saturday? It was weird to see him come out in the middle of a drive there in the third quarter.
Well, he got hit once. I'm like, boy, if he gets hit again, I'm taking him out. They're like, Coach, we need to get to the third quarter. I'm like, well, if he gets touched one more time, he's coming out. Well, he got touched, so head coach said he's coming out, and that was the end of that story.
Have you guys gotten any farther along in determining whether he'll be back next year, or is that still something that waits till the end of the season?
Keep praying, Brother Greg. I've been recruiting all year. I want to be sensitive to him and his parents, and I want him to get what he wants out of this. And we're close to having that conversation, but we haven't had it yet. But it's we all want him back selfishly, but I want Frank to be happy. And whatever that is, I'm going to support him and love him. And if he tells me he's moving on, then I'm going to hug him and love him. And if he tells me he's coming back, I might kiss him, hug him, and love him.
All right, then. And I want to ask
on the cheek. Let's clarify. Forehead.
I also wanted to ask you about Clifford Chattman. He had his first interception over the weekend. And overall, what has it meant to you to see him come back and have the year he's had for this team?
That's a pretty cool story. Cliff's from New Orleans, as DeJuan is, and we're playing Louisiana school. So DeJuan gets the interception, gets hurt, and Cliff tells him on the field, like, I heard him. Like, you talk about speaking things into existence. Cliff told DeJuan, I'm going to get this ball back for you. And he did it on the exact same drive. Now, he didn't say he's going to get it back on this drive, but he did tell him he's going to get it back. I thought that was cool. Pig, who's also from Louisiana, had a chance for interception. So we almost had the trifecta on the Louisiana team. So that was really cool. And really happy for Cliff. Played a really, really good ball game. Very physical, covered the field, and happy for him. Him and Nick Fortune really bounced back from the week before, where they were a little disappointed in their performance. And those kids played very, very well. They were both triangle toughness winners on our defense last week.
Cliff has pushed through a lot of injuries and different setbacks in his career to finally have this starting opportunity now. How have you seen him coming from last year to handle the mental side of that and then kind of enjoying the payoff this?
I've used Cliff as an example for JT and Makai and Rashad and Brandon, is that look at Cliff. He was starting last year and he had the injury and he was done for the season. He had planned on going to make his opportunity in the National Football League, but he had to come back because of his injury. And now look at it. Every NFL team that comes through here asks about Cliff, and he'll have a real chance to play at the next level due to the season he's put in. But I stand by him getting an extra year. He learned the game so much better. He's still learning the game because he's getting to play the game. So he's a great role model for our kids. I would encourage all of us to lift up those kids. That's tough, man. You talk about mental health when you're away from the team and you're not. Imagine JT. He wasn't even touched, and that tremendous knee injury. And I know he's happy for Key. I know he's happy for the Roadrunners. But, man, we need to all pick those kids up and encourage them and lift them up like we did Cliff. And I know Cliff will do that because he's been through this before. But I don't want to forget about those kids, man. We've lost a lot of kids. I can't even do my cute little 210, captain deal because all my 210s are not out there right now. I got to go to my 9s, my 6s, my 5s, my 4s, and my 8s to get a coin toss right now because I'm missing so many 210 guys.
JJ?
Jeff, talking about the secondary and the defensive backs, do you feel like they kind of answered the challenge this week, bouncing back from that UAB game?
I was so proud of them. I mean, I try to be very honest with you guys on what I see with my own eyes. I try not to give y'all coach talk. We were very impressed with 3, the receiver Harris. We were very impressed with 6, Harris. We were very impressed with 85. We thought those were really, really good guys that have burned a lot of really good people. Clemson, Missouri. But, man, our DBs were there step for step. We had 1 bust, and we gave up 1 inside route for a touchdown. And other than that, we were pretty spot on. And our fewest MAs the entire season. We only had 14 MAs as an entire defensive unit. They flew around. They were physical. And, I think it's a really good point, JJ, how well those kids played Saturday.
Jeff, earlier you talked about controlling your own destiny. What does it mean to be able to clinch a spot this week if you guys come away with the win?
That and just what we've all been through. And those 2 losses early in the year, I mean, those are painful, man. Those still hurt. And then you throw the injuries on top of those 2 losses. These kids have been through the ringer, and they keep coming out of it. So I think that is part of what makes it so special for me, that we control our own destiny in spite of what we've all been through.
Greg?
Jeff, did you expect that Trey Moore could be this productive this early in his career, stepping into this new role this season as a pass rusher?
Only because Larry Hill told me so. I mean, Larry Hill swore by him at Smith Valley, and he was right. And I wish I'd listened to Larry earlier. We were a little slow getting on Trey, and thank goodness he came home. And he's unique. There's no doubt in my mind he'll be a single-digit guy for us and all-conference player for years. And Larry was right, and his wife, the whole Hill family in Smith Valley let me know about him. And they remind me daily they were right, and I was slow to the party. But, man, I'm glad he's on my team now.
As you kind of look ahead for his next few years, what are the path for him to continue improving, or the focus areas you guys are looking at?
Just, getting that old man, grown man strength. He's still young, and he'll continue to get better. He doesn't take a day off. He's a lot like Frank. I mean, he is first one here, last one to leave. It's important to him. Football matters. Anybody that plays, out there at Smith Valley, football matters. It's important. It's a lot like Cibolo. And really, really, his upside is high. And I think you'll see him before he leaves here be like, Clarence as far as getting to the quarterback. And I know that's putting an awful lot on a young man, but that's my expectations for Trey.
What has it done for the defense to have Drew Prox the last couple weeks back in the rotation? What role do you kind of see him filling going forward?
It worked out because we lost Martavius right when we got Drew back. Martavius got injured covering a kick, So we got to plug him right back in there. Drew's been out for 8 weeks this year with a calf, and he was a guy that we had really counted on being instrumental. But thank goodness, Trevor and Jamal Liggins, who have just been so steady for us my entire 3 years here, has stayed healthy, and Avery's really developed. And Martavius was really coming on, but then Martavius obviously went down, and Drew has stepped in, and he's still rusty and getting better, but we think he'll be up to speed here, in a couple of weeks.
And one other thing from Saturday, we saw that Jared Sackett had not done the kickoffs the last couple of weeks, and then he comes back in this game and takes that role on again. What's the thinking or the thought process behind how you handle that role?
Hunter's leg just got so tired last year. I mean, the good news is we score a lot of points, right? So our kickers kick off a lot. The bad news is we score a lot of points. So not only are they kicking off, they're kicking extra points, they're kicking field goals, because we score quite a bit. And that's been a 3-year blessing. It's one of those good problems, right? So just in my notes last year, while we finished as strong as I wanted to, I just wrote to myself, just try to find some ways to steal some kicks back, and could we get another guy to go out there and do that some? And luckily, Tate came out there and gave us 2 weeks, which allowed Jared some rest, and he had 6, out of 9 touchbacks, which is a pretty good ratio.
Anything else for Coach Traylor? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all. God bless. Birds up.
Thanks, Jeff.